September 9th was supposed to be just another ordinary day in court. But by the time the gavel struck, Meghan Markle's carefully cultivated image as a woman in control had taken a serious blow. What was expected to be a routine appeals hearing quickly unraveled into a raw, public takedown of her entire legal strategy, something no amount of spin could disguise. It all began with a single remark from Chief Judge William Pryor that echoed through the courtroom. "Your arguments are beside the point." This wasn't casual criticism. It was a direct shot at Meghan's legal team, delivered with the calm authority of a judge who had seen it all before. Instantly, the energy in the room shifted. Meghan wasn't even present, but her lawyers visibly lost their footing. Faces went pale as the judge's disbelief became obvious. And when they finally admitted to skipping over basic legal procedures, the silence that followed wasn't the ordinary quiet of courtroom decorum. It was the heavy silence of people realizing they were witnessing a disaster unfold in real time. The person who seized on every slip? Samantha Markle's attorney, Peter Tickton. A seasoned litigator, he walked into the room with a strategy and carried it out with surgical precision. He didn't bury the court in legal jargon. He went directly for the vulnerabilities. His approach was clear. Highlight the flaws, expose the contradictions, and let Meghan's team collapse under its own weight. That's exactly how it played out. Tickton mocked the defense as a grab bag of arguments, a phrase that stuck with everyone listening. His point was cutting but undeniable. If their case was truly strong, why were they throwing so many scattered arguments at once? Why not address Samantha's claims head-on? The implication was clear: they were avoiding the truth. That phrase spread beyond the courtroom, catching fire in legal circles and royal gossip forums alike. The picture of Meghan's team, as disorganized and desperate, was now firmly planted. But the real damage wasn't Tickton's clever phrasing. It was Meghan's own lawyers admitting they had overlooked crucial details in their motion to dismiss. For any attorney, that's more than a mistake, it's a breakdown. And it came from the very team Meghan had trusted, funded, and promoted as the best in the field. In Montecito, sources say Meghan was stunned. This wasn't the kind of story she could spin on a podcast or redirect with PR. This was her legal credibility crumbling in plain sight. Her crisis team sprang into action. PR advisors, brand consultants, crisis handlers, all scrambling to limit the fallout. But the damage was already done. Meghan Markle, once thought legally untouchable, had just been humbled in federal court, and the fallout was only beginning. Tickton's strength wasn't just legal, it was theatrical. He commanded the courtroom. Every stumble by Meghan's attorneys became part of his performance. He never raised his voice or resorted to theatrics. He simply let the facts speak, and the facts were merciless. Yet the harshest blow wasn't purely legal, it was emotional. Court filings revealed Samantha Markle had allegedly received credible death threats after Meghan's high-profile media appearances. These weren't vague social media insults. They were detailed, explicit threats, serious enough to involve law enforcement. Samantha's legal team argued that the timing of these threats lined up precisely with Meghan's biggest media moments: the Oprah interview and the Netflix documentary. Suddenly, the case was no longer just about defamation. It was about consequences in the real world. Samantha wasn't merely claiming hurt feelings. She was pointing to police reports, documented online abuse, and a direct loss of personal safety. That shifted the legal ground completely. Meghan's media approach was now under scrutiny. Not just the words she chose, but the way she delivered them and the vast influence she carried. As Samantha's lawyer framed it, when someone with Meghan's reach speaks, it isn't just opinion. It's power. Power that can move people. Power that can provoke. And in this case, they argued, it had provoked real harm. Meghan's defense, that her comments were protected opinion, suddenly looked fragile. Free speech protections were thin when another person's safety is threatened. The irony is that Meghan's team, by brushing off the lawsuit as trivial, may have miscalculated from the start. Samantha's lawyers treated it like a war and fought with that intensity. Now, others are watching. If Meghan loses, even symbolically, it sends a clear signal. She can be challenged, and she can be defeated. The appellate court's written opinion is now the most closely watched document in Meghan Markle's world. Judge Pryor's sharp words may well end up in the final ruling. Phrases like "beside the point" and pointed notes about procedural mistakes locked forever into legal record. If that happens, future litigants will have a ready-made blueprint to test Meghan's defenses. Meanwhile, Meghan's inner circle is in containment mode. PR firms are working around the clock. Contracts are being re-examined. Even business partners are adding new liability clauses to protect themselves. Studios and publishers aren't just worried about public backlash. They fear subpoenas, lawsuits, and the risk of being pulled into Meghan's legal troubles. And the consequences are spilling over to Prince Harry. His reputation, so closely tied to Meghan's, is now taking collateral damage. He had hoped to reshape his public role as a humanitarian and advocate for mental health. But now his name is dragged into headlines about courtroom chaos instead. Behind palace walls, insiders say there's a sense of quiet satisfaction. The couple who once upended the monarchy with bombshell interviews are now under pressure for federal judges, not tabloids. And that hits differently. The speed of this shift is striking. Meghan, once untouchable, now appears exposed. One courtroom disaster, one skilled opponent, and one scathing judicial critique have changed the story entirely. And in the end, the most devastating loss isn't in the courtroom. It's the loss of control over her own image. That, more than any verdict, is the true cost Meghan Markle is paying.